So, I just saw my favorite YouTuber released a shorter version of his review of Spider-Man No Way Home, my man Tyrone Magnus. And so, I want to do a reaction video. Watching his reaction and talking about, let's see what he talks about the spoiler review. It's called Spoiler Review and Breakdown of Important Scenes. All right, Tyrone, let's see what you got to say. You're gonna play it right now. I always love that intro. Makes me want to do one just like it. You're in a superhero suit, just like that. Make it look cool.
All right, Wonder. Let's see what you picked up that I didn't. Let's see what I missed. I know you got some details here I'm going to want to know. So let's get it. And make sure you subscribe to the Cosmic Wonder.
All right, Spider-Man No Way Home spoiler review. I am going to be talking about spoilers in this video. I know a lot of people have been waiting for this.
Watching someone
else.
else.
Seen
So I'm watching
No Way
him
Home,
watching someone else.
Don't want to know
Okay.
anything about it. I'll give you a few seconds to leave until we really get into it.
Reaction.
They did it! They did it. They made a Spider-Verse film with the three Spider-Mans. It's insane. I cannot believe that they actually did this. Yes, we've been talking about it for a while. Yes, I was talking about the three Spider-Man showing up for over a year now, but to see it on film was spectacular. And
Yes,
it's not
it
just the
was.
fact
Yes,
that we
it
saw it on
was.
film that makes me love it so much. It's not just the fact that we saw them there, it's how they did it. They actually executed this, in my opinion, perfectly. I think they did it exactly the way they needed to do it. Yes, there was some fan service in there, but I think they did it incredibly well. And I think everything else that came along with the movie was just spectacular. And I'm going to talk about why I think this is the greatest superhero movie of all time. Now, right off the bat, I acknowledge that not everybody is going to think that. I personally am a little bit biased towards Spider-Man.
I wouldn't say that.
I haven't been able to tackle
It was great.
the past year.
It was
So,
great, but
I love Spider-Man.
I wouldn't say all time.
But
I wouldn't
this
say
story
that.
in particular really took it over the top for me.
There are some
This is
contenders.
the Spider-Man end game. That's what they've been calling it. That's what we kind of knew.
It's a Spider-Man flashpoint, too.
Yeah, it is, Tyrone, it is. That's what I said in my video. You should see my video, bro.
Awesome.
It's a flashpoint.
This is actually a Peter Parker story. And Tom Holland gets his Peter Parker story. I mean, you know, Tobey and Andrew are only in, the last 45 minutes, 30 minutes. And I'm glad they did it that way. And I'm glad they came in the way they came in. I'm glad they just didn't start swinging in and fighting. I actually preferred the Science Bros parts, which I'm going to say.
That would have been cool if out of nowhere he needed help and they swung in.
Yeah, it would have. It would have.
I
would have took that too.
This is his movie, right? Yes, it's this huge in-game movie, but this is his movie, and his acting, really. Tom,
Exactly.
wow. I'm not sure I've seen this from him before. I definitely haven't seen it from him.
Oh, I have.
With his past Spider-Man movie. I like Tom Holland
in the
as
movie on
Spider-Man.
Netflix,
Tobey Maguire's
The
always
Devil
been
of the
my
Time.
favorite, but Tom
Holland
Holland, I
is a
think,
good
stepped it
actor.
up in this one. I really do. The story was really good. The emotion that came with it, wow, what a roller coaster of emotion. You know, I'm going to talk about that in detail, but Tom, I feel like this was his time to shine, and he performed. He shined. He really did. I think he gave it his all, and it comes through on the screen. Tom, if you happen to stumble upon this video, thank you for this.
That picture's when he's mad.
You truly put your all into it.
Beating the crap out of Norman.
You made me cry. You made me laugh. Tom was phenomenal. Tom was phenomenal. And speaking of acting, the villains, oh my gosh. I didn't think Willem Dafoe could do better than he did as the Green Goblin in the first Spider-Man
And he
film.
did.
But
Yeah, he did as good or better.
Terrifying in this movie. Terrifying in this movie. Menacing. I mean, it was just, it was perfect. I didn't think it could get better, and it did. Willem Dafoe just came back after like 20 years and was like, let me show you how it's done. It's almost like he was thinking about this role for the past 20 years and was like, well, I could do it like this. And then he finally gets his chance. He's like, watch me do it perfectly. and he did it perfectly. Now, the other villains, of course, they showed up as well, because you have actors like Alfred, Molina, and Jamie Foxx, and they're just fantastic as well. And everything that involved them was executed perfectly. Again, I loved Jamie Foxx's character. I loved how confident he was. I loved kind of the new, as he calls it. That was pretty great. The only thing about some of the other villains is like Sandman and the Lizard. They were just kind of there.
They were. Kind of there
in the background, but they did have their moments, right? Yeah. Sandman pops up and he helps Peter. He's like, Peter, it's me, Flint. Right? And he tries to save him, and he gets confused because Peter's like, I'm Peter, but now you're Peter's like, what? And so he helps him, and then he kind of turns because he doesn't trust him, right? He had his time to shine as well, I think. And then, of course, you have the Lizard, who basically, I just think all of the villains in this movie, and basically all the returning characters, did a phenomenal job. I think we actually saw the villains in a better light than we've ever seen them, though. I think they all did better.
Goblin and Doc Ock shined the most, though.
Which is hard to say.
I agree.
It's hard to say because Molina did fantastic.
They're the most memorable of the movie.
They all did fantastic in the movies that they originally came out on, but this was just, I feel like was on a whole nother level. But let's talk about how they brought the Spider-Mans in, because that, to me, was the best part. Now, Ned finds out that he's magic and can open a portal, which is kind of a qualm I have because it seems like he did it just a little bit too easy, but it's not a movie about Ned, so I don't really care that much, right? I think the way they did everything else completely just trumps the little tiny things that maybe you could have changed, so
Ned's
I don't really nitpick at that right now. But Ned opens up.
Ned's got magical knack.
He says, I just want to see Peter, and then we see the other Spider-Man. It's a silhouette of Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man in the background, and they're like, come, and he comes in, and you can tell by the suit, the fans already knew by the suit, and then he takes the mask off, and there's the werewolf right in your face, and the banter's funny, right? He's like, prove that you're Spider-Man. Do you have the spider tingle? I do, but not for bread being thrown at me. And then we have Ned's mom asking him to clean the spider webs, and then Toby shows up. He tries to do it again. Toby shows up, and it's just perfect. And the two of them fight for like 2 seconds. And I was like, I kind of wanted something like a little bit more than that, but I didn't really want them to fight. But once I saw, I'm like, oh my gosh, they're about to fight. This is actually going to be crazy cool. And they did for like 2 seconds, and I actually thoroughly enjoyed that. But it was perfect because then they stepped in as Uncle Ben. Because that's what we wanted, right? Because for Tom Spider-Man, in this movie we had like a reverse Uncle Ben, right? Aunt May became Uncle Ben. Because normally it's Uncle Ben that dies, right? It says with great power comes great responsibility, and then when he dies, Peter Parker is left with Aunt May. However, this is kind of the opposite. Now, we don't really know what happened to Uncle Ben. We could probably assume that Tom Holland's Uncle Ben died, but Aunt May took that role in this movie. She gave him that line, with great power comes great responsibility, and then she dies. But now Peter has nobody.
I wonder why he
That's
doesn't
when
have
Toby
Uncle
and
Ben.
Andrew show up, and they kind of take that role of Uncle
I think it's because Aunt May
to console him, and they hug
might
him,
be
and
like the relative of his parents.
is simply
Or why his Uncle Ben's dead,
so they come in,
or not
and
there.
they all just connect perfectly. And I'm going to talk about my favorite part of the movie right now because it starts right in this scene where they start talking to Peter. Andrew Garfield. No, really, like, Andrew Garfield, I think, brought so much to this movie, and his character made me cry. His character made me cry. For those people
I agree.
who wanted redemption for Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man,
That part made me cry too, man.
They really got it.
I was wondering where you're going with it.
Himself got whatever he was looking for from this movie, because obviously it was really, really hard for him, right? Not a lot of people liked his movies. That's not really on him. I think he was a really good Spider-Man.
I thought he was great.
The movies weren't cut out to be
I liked both movies.
what they were supposed to be.
Yeah.
Right? That's not on him.
I like both of them.
But this movie, oh my gosh, whenever he would talk about Gwen, and when he saved MJ and he landed and he was crying, I cried. Like, I
did too.
Cried. And I
was
saw
fucked
him last
up.
night, I still cried.
I was like, oh,
We were all
shit.
fucked up.
It was really, really emotional. Really emotional. And then we had the part where he's talking to Toby, and he's like, I suck. And Toby's like, wait a second. You're amazing. Now, this part I love because it's like meta, right? It's obviously like, oh, he's the amazing Spider-Man, right? That's really clever. But I feel like this is also like a conversation that he's had, maybe with Toby, but definitely had like on his own. Like, wow, Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man is loved. Tom Holland's Spider-Man is loved, but I'm kind of not, right? People don't really like my movies. And this is where, you know, they're kind of saying, like, no, you are amazing. You're amazing. And he's like, I'm not going to lie. I needed that. I really enjoyed that because I feel like it was addressing, like,
hey, I love you, Andrew.
How he
I love
probably
you.
feels because not a lot of people love his movies too much. And he was supposed to get that third film. And
I thought you were great Peter and Spider-Man.
Yeah.
I wouldn't change nothing about you.
Redemption for Andrew Garfield, I feel. Not that he himself needed it, because again, I don't think he did a bad job as Spider-Man, but this was perfect for me. This was absolutely perfect for me. And Toby's my favorite, and I think he came in, and he played the part that he was supposed to play perfectly. You know, he's the older Spider-Man. We got the callbacks like, my back! And he's like, all right, about to start.
Oh, yeah!
And the two of them were like, oh, yeah, I got my back.
I forgot about that part.
And,
I watched the first one last night.
When he steps in front
And that scientist line from the Goblin. I
of
was
Tom
like,
Holland's Peter Parker to stop him from killing the Goblin,
right.
that's him being an older Spider-Man who knows what Spider-Man and Peter Parker are all about. They're not about killing. They are about curing, as Tobey Maguire says. And we get that
And they
part
did it.
when the science bros are all, you know, trying to get the cures for everything. And he goes, I think I can cure Osborn. And if you notice, you look at Tom Holland's Spider-Man, he kind of looks down, he kind of looks at him, because Osborn just killed Aunt May. But then Tobey looks at him and he goes, we gotta cure all of them, right? That's what we do. And that's the role that Tobey Maguire's Peter Parker plays. The older,
Bad guys,
more
what we
experienced
do.
Peter Parker. The one that has a wife now, right? That has MJ, we can assume, because he's a lot older. You know, he says they made it work, which was really, really
Just saw
cool.
that part again last night. That looked a little softcore porn there in the rain.
What happened with theirs?
Got Magnus just poking through in the wet rain.
That's so true. That is so true with the veins and everything and the way they were kissing.
Yeah.
In my mind, going into the movie, I was like, there's zero reasons for you to kill Tobey Maguire's
Exactly.
Spider-Man. There's zero reasons for you to pull
And he's got spider sense. Should have known that was coming.
Bring him into ours and kill him for no reason. But he got stabbed, but he lived. So that was phenomenal, right? Another aspect of the movie that I liked was the Doctor Strange aspect. Because it kind of
it was a cool
you made
addition.
it, because it kind of connected it, right, to the MCU, but it didn't deter too much. We had some really, really cool fight scenes. We saw how smart Peter Parker was during those scenes, and what that did was set up Peter Parker to kind of be on his own with his two best friends, MJ and Ned. And I feel like this movie really did give Tom Holland's Peter Parker time to shine, like I mentioned before. But the best part about this movie, I think, is that it showed us, and it really did capture who Peter Parker is, who Spider-Man is on the inside. And with the help of Aunt May, he realizes that he's supposed to help people. That's what Spider-Man does. The friendly neighborhood Spider-Man.
I thought May was crazy.
Really
I remember I said it in theater. I was like, you're crazy. No.
His torture of having lost Aunt May and wanting his revenge on Green Goblin. At the end of the movie, you have the two people that he loves the most. He lost Aunt May. They're all he has. He makes the promise that he's going to show up again and tell them, I love you, hey, this is what happened, and then, like, click, maybe everything's going to come back. And he goes and he meets MJ, and he sees that they both got into MIT. He sees that their lives are better. Then he questions telling them.
Right.
But then it looks like he still decides that he's going to, right? Because maybe me telling them wouldn't change something is probably what he's
I
to say.
knew he wasn't going to say
she
that.
moves her hair back.
Yeah,
and he sees the
I saw it
bandage
coming.
on her head, and he realizes that came from me, right? She's in danger because of me, and as long as I'm Spider-Man, she's always going to be in danger. That's like the big Spider-Man thing, right? As long as I'm Spider-Man, you're always in danger.
Right.
So what does he decide to do? He himself makes the sacrifice for the better good of the people he loves. And that, to me, is what Spider-Man is all about. And again, that's a Tom Holland Spider-Man right there, right? Yeah, the other two came in, and it was phenomenal. And I loved every second of it. But this is what Spider-Man is about. Even, when he goes to Doctor Strange, he says, do it. Make everyone forget me, because that'll save the universe. It's for the greater good. Spider-Man puts other people in front of him. That's who Spider-Man is. And that was captured in this movie, I feel, with Tom Holland's Spider-Man. Same thing with the other Spider-Man. Same thing with Tobey stepping up and keeping him from killing Green Goblin. That was twofold, right? That was to keep Tom's Spider-Man from going down a dark path, which clearly the other two have. And it was to save Osborn, who was sick, right? He knew he was sick. It's not him. It was the Goblin. Now, of course, I have to mention the hand-to-hand combat because speaking of Tom and the Goblin, wow, what a final scene that was. When they were fighting, we got to see Tom just in full rage mode,
beating the shit out of him
to fight, using his physical power to fight, and the way he slinged him on the floor, amazing. Then, not to mention, when they're fighting in the apartment building, I mean, Goblin's throwing him through walls, slamming him through multiple levels.
Rock bombs, power bombs.
Yeah, absolutely beating the crap out of him.
Yeah.
You know, if Aunt May wasn't there, Goblin would have killed him. But fortunately and unfortunately, May was there, and that ended up killing her. And we had the Uncle Ben moment, which was necessary for Spider-Man, right? Was necessary, but the action was insane. Even when he's fighting Doc Ock with the tentacles, that was fantastic. I loved how that happened.
Oh yeah, that was good.
He's picking up, those huge concrete cylinder things, and he's throwing at him, and he's actually getting hit, and he's actually kind of getting beat up, and it's actually really, really cool. I thought the action was phenomenal. Then you get the 3 Spider-Men, and they're kind of a mess at first, right? Because they're used to working alone, and then we get that cool thing with Tom Holland. Tom Holland Spider-Man's I was an Avenger, and Toby's you were an Avenger? That's great. What's an Avenger? Cracked me up. Even in the midst of all of the serious stuff, they still managed to keep that humor, which I personally love. I know some people are oh, the humor's still too much.
I saw that
I
concept.
I feel like Spider-Man is that type of character. So I just feel like they did a lot of justice to the character. But then, of course, they come together, and it's Tom that brings them together, which is what I really like, because it's still about him, right? Tom, who is the youngest Spider-Man, and I would argue, hasn't matured the most as the others, just because he's younger, says, we're going to work as a team. We're going to trust each other. We're going to trust our tingle. Let's go do this. And then the next sequence is just the best thing I've ever seen in my life. 3 Spider-Men swinging together, landing down together. Which, by the way, we all knew that was cut out of the trailers, right? I mean, that was pretty obvious. And then, then we do have the Spider-Man kicking the lizard in the face, obviously, right? I mean, that was pretty great. But that next sequence of the Spider-Man working together, of I think it was Tom's Spider-Man that swings up, shoots the other 2 Spider-Men, webs them up, they all swing together. I mean, they just, and they did everything I wanted them to do with the Spider-Mans. They did the pointing meme, right? And they did it in a way that was different, right? They're hey, Peter. It's yeah? Oh, you? Talking to you? Talking to me? That was perfect. I love that take on it. They talked about the organic web shooters versus the mechanized web shooters. That was so perfect, and they actually made kind of a running-on joke about it, right? They're whoa, how does that even? And Andrew's so confused, and then they get on Statue of Liberty, and they're is it just your wrist, or is it coming up anywhere else? They did exactly what I feel funny. If this was all real, would happen, right?
You guys are gonna ask that question.
We just have to make ours, and you just produce yours, and then talk about did you ever have a web block? And he's oh yeah, I did. We've all seen that movie where he can't. Yeah. And he's why? And he's existential crisis, and it's just they did everything perfectly. I feel they really did do everything perfectly for this movie. They brought in the 3 Spider-Mans, and they did fan service to us, but it all made sense. And that is truly why I love this movie, because they gave us something we've always wanted.
You definitely love Spider-Man,
and it made sense. They executed it perfectly. And then you take the cast, this grade A cast, and they had everyone perform to the best level that they could, which I truly believe. I think everybody gave it their all. And I think the acting was phenomenal. And then they threw in some really great action sequences, and then they took you on an emotional roller coaster, pulling at your heartstrings. May dying, Tobey getting stabbed, Peter Parker crying, Andrew Garfield crying about Gwen, and then saving MJ and crying.
He loved it way more than I did. Listening to the joy, the energy in his voice.
Yo, that's how I sound in my video.
I just feel in Spider-Man so much. That's fine. I totally get it. And like I said, some people are going to say it's a great movie, not my favorite. That's fine. That's fine. But this is my review, and I just told you why I...
He didn't even mention Daredevil.
You're
or the symbiote.
I understand why people would feel that way.
It was an emotional journey, for sure. And The villains were fantastic. Like, honestly, the movie would have been fantastic if it was just Tom versus all the other villains, because that was executed perfectly. And then but you had the other three. Everything we've talked about.
They didn't have that one.
Years.
They spoke about Miles, though.
I mean, like, everything. Daredevil showed up at the beginning. Like,
now you mention it.
It's insane. So, this is now my new favorite movie. This is my review on Spider-Man No Way Home. I hope you all loved it. I hope everybody watching this has already watched the film, because you want to go into this, as you all know, not, having the least amount of spoilers as you can. It's like, yeah, I've been talking about Tobey and Andrew showing up for years, right?
Mm-hmm.
For over a year. But there was always like that 0.0001% in the back of my head going like, well, it never was confirmed by Sony yet.
I feel like they had to, though. I felt like, they had to do it. They had to.
Right? I talked to people, I know.
Even though, a lot of us were skeptical whether or not they were going to do it.
0.0001% that was like, we'll see. And that actually made me love the movie more. Going in, not knowing when they were going to show up and going like, show up, and they showed up, and it was fantastic. So, I hope you love the movie. Now my new favorite movie. Thank you for joining me on this journey. If you didn't catch my thank you video, I did it yesterday. Thank you to all of you for supporting me over the time. And now, we have some crazy stuff coming up. Obviously, we're going to be talking about Spider-Man more. The Multiverse of Madness is coming up. King's coming, and Ant-Man. There's just so much. Throw a little Thunder Guardians today. We're not done. This is only part of the journey, and it's only going to get better from here. But in the meantime, let me know what you thought about the movie. Rate it in the comments down below. I am curious to hear everyone's opinion on this. I love you all 3000, and I will catch you all next time. Woof woof.
Thank you very much, Wonder. Thank you very much. Your bias blind you, Master Wonder. He loved it. He has just seen the most beautiful woman that he's ever seen in person in his life, and he is in love with her. He's like, it's just perfect. He's entitled to that. You know what I'm saying? He is a super Spider-Man fan. He's a super fan. I'm a fan of Spider-Man. He's a super fan. I can tell he's a super fan. Like, but as far as everything else from here on, I feel like it's downhill from here. I really feel like that they are not going to do as good of a job with Love and Thunder, with Ant-Man, with Multiverse of Madness. Like, I'm worried.
Why?
I'm worried.
Why?
Not so much about Multiverse of Madness, more so Love and Thunder and Ant-Man. I'm not you know what I mean? Especially Love and Thunder. But we shall see.
I don't know. I feel like they're going to do a good job with Love and Thunder.
Every movie that
Ragnarok was good.
I want to like. That is my hard-earned money that I'm spending to watch this. And I want to add another film to my collection so that when I need to pick me up or just want to smile or get excited or enjoy myself, I can pop that DVD in, that Blu-ray in, stream it, and feel good. You know what I'm saying? So, post comments down below. Let me know what you all thought. If you enjoyed my reaction to this. Is he right? Is he wrong? Let me know what you guys think too. And 10 million subscribers. Woo.
Well, Tyrone, I don't think you should be worried because, I mean, some people thought it was going to be downhill after Endgame, and I don't think they're doing bad. Like, I feel like all the shows are good. The movies are coming out. I felt like Eternal was good. I know that you have a different opinion, but, I don't feel like it's downhill. I have more faith. Marvel has a pedestal to uphold, and Disney is one of those companies that keeps getting better, if you know what I mean. Over the years, it's just gotten better. Obviously they make mistakes, but imperfectly perfect is exactly what I love. So I think we don't got nothing to worry about. I think we're good. I think what we should be worried about is DC. DC is the one that I'm really worried about, like that one. that one got me worried. That one got me disappointed a lot of times. You know, like DC's a whole conversation me and you can definitely have, because Marvel, I ain't worried. Marvel, I haven't been worried about Marvel for a bit after all these movies that have been coming out. I've loved every single one. Yeah, there's some things they could do better here and there, but ultimately, overall, it's invaluable what they're doing with these movies. Invaluable. So, thank you for always being honest, always being great, Mr. Magnus. Hope to meet you one day. Peace out. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment. See you on the next video. Peace.